Welcome back, basketball fans. Welcome back. So in the women's division, things have just gotten a lot more interesting. So the sweeps are complete. The Zetech Sparks and the KPA Dockers team are going to meet in the KBF finals. And let's just talk about this. So for coming into the Zetech Sparks series, when they were matching up against the Equity Hawks, there was not much expectation in there, and a lot of people were saying that it's just gonna be just the same thing as last year, because last year the funny thing is the Equity Hawks and Zetech Sparks met in the semis, and things didn't turn out pretty well for the Zetech Sparks, because looking at the way they came out, it was they were very close games, but they just didn't have it to at least be able to steal a game, so they got swept last postseason. Okay, the games were, a bit chippy in there, but Equity just had the ability to adjust and win that game. But moving into the off season, you could see the key acquisitions that the Sparks made. They brought in a few pieces to enable them to be able to not only gun in for a good playoff spot, but get good seeding in the women's division. So they went out. The Zetech Sparks went ahead and made some key signings that were very important, especially in their backcourt, in their front court. So they brought in Ashley in there, and they brought in mid-season acquisition. They brought in Medina Court from KPA. So there was a bit of controversy on, KPA keeping Medina, but the KPA Dockers just had to release her, and she got signed by the ZX Sparks. And she was actually one of the main reasons, if not the reason, as to why they're in this position, because her production, especially in the front court, she has played for the national team. She gathered that experience. Okay, things didn't turn out the way they were supposed to be expected in the national team wise, but on a team level, you could see she brought in some offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. She was able to, uh, grab those key boards, and not only take them back in, but also kick it out, kick their ball out for the open shooter. So her production is very very needed, especially in the playoffs. And she came out and she did her thing, and is actually one of the main reasons as to why the Zetech Sparks front court was actually exemplary. Not the best, but good to beat those, be good to be able to grab those key points that assisted them to get the win. So in game one, it started off pretty strong. It was actually a good game. That going into it, I didn't have like a clear favorite to win that game one in the Zetech versus Equity series. And from game one, you could see Zetech just came out guns blazing, and that gave me like flashbacks of last year when Zetech matched up against Equity. I remember I watched that game live in Nyayo. Even that time I was filming it, and the way they came out pretty strong, and they blew them out. And I believe they borrowed the same strategy this next time they met, especially in the postseason, and they used the same tactic despite the lead being cut by Equity. The Zetech just knew how to pick up those shots, and they were knocking down those shots. They were knocking down the three ball pretty well. They were getting inside, getting those second chance points, and it has led them to a sweep on the Equity Hawks. And moving on to even the other side, you could see they just didn't know what to do with the way the Zetech Sparks came in. And looking at even the box score from the statistics, even from the videos that you're able to see online that are floating around online, you could see the Equity Hawks were just so unprepared in that matchup, and they just didn't look like they want to be there. And I can say the Zetech Sparks just came out and just flat out dominated them. It was just like a reverse a thing the way they did it in last postseason. So Zetech, they got their revenge. They swept them back. They dished out their sweep just the same way as the Thunder dished out their sweep on the Strathmore Blades, which was actually pretty awesome. And right now they just notched in that finals. Remember, the coach came out he was quoted as saying they don't have that expectation to make the finals, but if they do, that's going to be a good thing. They just want to see how this group of ladies are able to, play at that level, and play well they did, because they're able to notch that finals berth. I believe it's, I'm not sure if it's the first time, but first time in a long time. And given the way that they have been playing, it has just been exemplary. There are no weak spots in their game. And actually, the team that had the most weaknesses was the Equity Hawks. And they just didn't know how to bounce back, and they just didn't have the strategies to be able to get back in the game. And possession after possession, if they were forcing a turnover, it was a steal. On the other side, they were just being pressed so high. They're being pressed high on the half court to the point where they couldn't even mount even any offensive set in there. And Zetech Sparks, Coach Obi is just doing some amazing job in there. And it's just great to see. And even moving on to the KPA versus the Strathmore Sword series, I can say confidently, I just knew KPA are just going to sweep. Based on the way they came out to play, they're just blowing out that team. It was expected that KPA are going to make the finals. But what wasn't expected is Equity falling to Zetech in the finals and in the semi-finals. Because what I believed in was majority and the general consensus that people had, the people following Kenyan basketball, had that feeling that the Equity Hawks and the Zetech Sparks is just going to be a walkover warm-up series to prepare the Hawks to be able to match up against KPA. And that's what people thought. Because even when they made it, every team made it past the first round, that's when you see the teams the contenders just tend to rise. You see them take care of their first round matchups pretty well. When they go to the semis, that's when you know what each team is made of. And looking at the way the women's division is set up, the championship runs across three teams. It's the KPA Dockers, who are the defending champions, the Equity Hawks, who were in the finals, and they lost, and the Zetech Sparks. But you can see the Zetech Sparks, they made sure to rise up to the occasion, and they're able to do that. And looking at the way this finals matchup is going to pan out, I just feel like this is just going to play out all 5 games. And I wouldn't be surprised if Zetech just go all the way and win, because they're able to do that against an Equity side which is very experienced. They have played a lot, they've played together. Some of the players that are in there have played for the national team, and also the national team captain was in the squad. So having her being beat by a young and up and coming Zetech Sparks in there, I can say it's a bad look on her side, because she has the experience to be able to lead a team to win. But you can see the Equity Hawks just didn't look like they want to be there. Every game was just they were trying to force issues. Things were not, things were just not panning out in the way they thought they would, and it just ended up being a sweep. And in the third game is when the Zetech Sparks just dropped the hammer, and they won by as many as 30 points, because that game ended 70-40, and it was just an embarrassing outing for the Equity Hawks. But the Zetech Sparks is just pretty awesome to see. And I can't wait to see these two teams play in the finals, because it's a game that they played to close out the regular season. The KPA Dockers versus the Zetech Sparks, you could see they played a game and the KPA Dockers won. So let's see if these two teams, when they collide yet again in the postseason, especially in the finals, what type of basketball are they going to play? I know it's a regular season, they already launched a playoff spot, they're not trying to win to get in. So it was going to be an easygoing game. It was not a game that they needed to overstretch, but in the playoffs every single game matters. It's not like the regular season. So I just can't wait to see this matchup. It's just going to be interesting. And also follow up a video with talking about the men's division. A lot has happened in there, and just can't wait to talk about it. So please leave your feedback down in the comments section. I'm very excited about this series. can even make a part two. I'll just see if the if I have the the energy to do it. But yeah, man, I'm out. Peace.